when I first started dancing in Hawaii, that was 14 years ago. There wasn't like a lot of like white girls that just worked at the club at that time. So at the beginning, I was kind of having like, I guess, like a lot of beef with the other like Hawaiian dancers. So one night after work, they were like, you know what? We're sick of beefing with you. Like, come have a drink with me at my auntie's bar. So I remember having the beginning of that drink, and then the next thing I knew, I wake up in the back of a car, and I remember like I was trying to hold my head up, and I couldn't. They kept telling me, "Hold your head up, hold your head up," and like they were all like, "This is our club, and you're not gonna take it." And they just kept hitting me, and they're like, um, I forget what they said at that point. But the next thing I knew, I woke up and I was actually in a ditch at the North Shore, and I looked, I'm like, where am I? And there's mountains and the sun is coming up,
crazy.
and I'm all bruised up, and I'm laying there, and I had like
That's
a $300 shoe on at that time. I'm like, wow, I'm like, I still got one of my shoes. And I looked in the ditch, and I'm like, there's the other shoe. Wow. So I take it off, and I start like just walking down like this random highway, and this truck rolls up, and he's like, do you need a ride? I'm like, yeah, I do. So like we're riding down the road, and then there's my Jeep, and it's parked. I'm like, that's my Jeep. So I get out, and I run, and I look at my Jeep, and the key is in there, and then my purse is in there, and the whole $1,000 I made at night that work was in there.
Wow.
So
they weren't trying to rob you. They're just trying to send you a message.
That's all it was. Like, so yeah, then I go to work the next day, and I'm all beat up, and they're like,
Oh, you went to work.
That was the next story, right? Like, did you go back? You're like,
well, like my rent was $2,000, and I was so used to making so much money there. I had that 1,000, but I'm like, I just need that other 1,000 to pay my rent. So when I walk in, all cuts and bruises and everything, they're like, holy shit, we weren't expecting that. So the one girl's like all like acting tough, and the other one comes up to me and she starts crying. She's like, I'm so sorry. I've been feeling bad all day, this and that. I'm like, well, what I'm confused about is like, why didn't you guys take my money? She's like, oh, we didn't want to rob you. We don't rob people. She's like, it was just a game spanking. She's like, but I did take something. And she pulled out, and she lifted in her purse. She pulled out my hair straightener. She's like, I'm so sorry I took your hair straightener. She's like, I don't know how you did your hair for work today.
So it was like a gang initiation.
It was a game spanking. To teach me to like, back up. This was their club. And
They drugged you and threw you in a ditch, beat the shit out of you.
Yeah.
And then you went to work the next day.
And I didn't get robbed. And I got my hair straightener back.
And you guys became friends.
I became really good friends with that girl. And for years later, she'd get drunk and start crying at the bar and be like, I'm so sorry for the time I left you at the ditch in the North Shore. Like,
that's kind of crazy.
You have to for dead, dude.
Yeah.
yeah. And then,
drugged you, beat up in the ditch. That's crazy.